Hello ladies and gentlemen, today we're back in the La-200 dev server and we're having a look at the La-200. This is the new jet which is coming to Russia or the USSR and rank 5 in update 1.77. You can find it here after the La-15 which is sat here. And what you get out of it is an incredibly fast aircraft, and the basic reason for this is because it has two large engines, the Klimov VK-1 jet in the back here, and also another one sat in the front at an angle looking below the two pilots here. You also are equipped with three 37mm N37Ds, which sit in the nose around this point. Now I do want to preface this by saying there are a lot of people out there who are much better jet pilots than me, and I would say listen to their opinion, a hell of a lot higher than mine. This is going to be much more of a general basic overview. From a personal point of view, I normally don't really like jets, but I'm going to do it just to show you guys what you're generally going to get out of this thing. But if you're looking for a more solid opinion on this jet, other sources should be sought out. So it's full of fuel in the center of the vehicle, and it is a heavy vehicle, especially since it has the two engines. But because of that, it also has a lot of power behind it in the form of the two engines, meaning that it can go incredibly quick. If we look at the general upgrades that you get, you don't really have a lot of options for it, just like the majority of jets. You have 3 straight away for rank 1, 2 for rank 2, 2 for rank 3, and then 2 for rank 4. So options you don't really have a lot of. For me personally, the La-200s, or just the USSR jets in general, I do like to get the 37mm upgrades, just because I feel like the spread is way too much on those guns, and precision for me is a lot more important than just spraying in jets. The obvious other upgrades to get are flight performance, with survivability not really being that important in jets. If you get hit, you're dead. It's as simple as like that, just like late tier props. So you get default belts, which are Heavy T, API-T, which I think are good enough to be able to hold up to a good standard and, you know, to use if you don't want to get the offensive 37 and you want to focus on the other two. Air targets is just full Heavy, and then armored targets is API-T. So this will be the ground forces round, and I believe this will be the air forces. Now I have heard a lot about the 37mm for the USSR not doing as much damage as they should, so maybe people will want to run the AP ones just so they can do that a little bit more damage, or at least guarantee the penetration on, you know, aircraft that you're fighting. But others will want to go for the Heavy to try and blow parts off of aircraft. If we look at the armor profile of the La-200, it is non-existent. There is no armor on this aircraft. So, yeah, just understand that. Even if you're going for head-ons with this, with its, 337mm, just understand there's no armor here. Of course, this could be updated in a later dev server or when the update comes around, but I'm surprised there's not even bulletproof glass on this machine. If we look at the customization, there is only one camouflage, the beautiful silver from the La-200, and yeah, that's about it when we look at it in the hangar. So what I want to do is just take it into a mission editor. I have talked to a few people about this aircraft. There is definite interesting thoughts about why is it at 8.0 instead of 9.0. The speed that it has suggests that this should be a 9.0 aircraft, but in my opinion, it is not incredibly maneuverable. Now, the issue with these types of 8.0 aircraft is if they get matched up against 7.0s, because as we've seen with stuff like the Votor, what they will do is they will just run away, and then once they have enough distance on you, they'll turn, they'll head on, and then they'll do it over and over again. It is not engaging, it is not fun as something to do, but that's what people will do, because that is the best way to get the advantage. So this is what it looks like in the game. Pretty standard. The cockpit is absolutely stunning. I think this is one of the best cockpits out of the new updates that I've seen so far. and you have good coverage behind, you have great coverage above, and look at all of these instruments. Isn't this just wonderful? Someone's put a hell of a lot of work into this, and I'm just happy they did, because it is absolutely beautiful. But anyway, so accelerating with this machine is something that is very easy to do in a straight line. The issue comes when you start turning. So, you know how with the MiG-15s and the MiG-17s, what you have is a fighter which is generally very good at energy fighting, or at least compared to sabers and stuff like that, which is generally what you fight. So the Canadair is a slightly different kettle of fish, but against the normal sabers. That's pretty much how the matchup goes. You have the MiGs trying to energy fight, and then you have the sabers trying to turn, trying to hit those defensive shots. I feel like the La-200 is exactly like that, because as you can see, it can get up to speed pretty quick, but once you turn, you're going to lose a hell of a lot of that speed going around. And also, my crew on this crew is not the best, but you can see it works pretty well. We're in aerialistic right now, and you have good maneuverability all up to 1,000 kilometers an hour. This thing maxes out at about 1100, and as you can see, the 37s are already sparking. Well, not sparking, just not doing the damage they're supposed to. We'll say that. Yeah, it seems like a fun machine. Like, I can see why a lot of people have been calling it to be at 9.0, and as a person who isn't as experienced with jets, or doesn't enjoy jets as much, I definitely listen to their opinion a lot more than my own. But it feels like one of these planes which is going to be, oh boy, it's going to be good at 8.0, but once it gets up into 9.0, there are just planes which do what it wants to do, but better, so such as the Hunter in this regard. And also, when we talk about the top dogs of the Jets 9.0 right now, it's very hard to break into that bracket unless you're a MiG-17, a Canadair Sabre, or a Hunter at this time. The matchup which is going to be interesting to see with this is the people who cock up using this thing, using it as a turn fighter, because then what's going to happen is they're going to get battered by stuff like G91s, and then people are going to call for it to be reduced in BR. But I feel like with this machine, as long as you keep your speed up and you engage enemies in a not aggressive way, but in a tactical way, so as a supportive aircraft, not being the first person in, but being the second person in on a target, you should be completely fine. The 150 rounds of ammunition is something a few people have brought up, so 50 rounds per gun. I don't think it's that much of an issue, just because generally with these Russian machines, what you do is you fire 1 or 2 bursts, and then you will be off the target. So you have a very small window in order to actually kill the enemy aircraft that you see. So with that said, that's, even though you only have 150, you can see it all comes out at the same time in the form of this, and it comes out in 3-round bursts. So what you can do is you can pretty much be able to easily control the fire rate and easily control the amount of ammunition you use. If you're in a prolonged fight, of course you'll run out of ammo at some point, but I don't think it's any different compared to some of the other machines that we see at BR 8.0 and 9.0. The way I see this aircraft is... whoa, okay. I screwed that up. The way I see this aircraft is it is going to be a vehicle which is not going to be friendly to the average person, but it is going to be incredibly friendly to the experienced players that we see at around 8.0 and 9.0. I have lost my tail, so I'm pretty much just going straight into the drink here. But yeah, it's going to be incredibly friendly to people like that, whereas the Yak-23, when it was released, was incredibly friendly to the average person. This vehicle is going to be incredibly friendly to the experienced person, and they're going to do really well in it. So it's going to be fun. I think this is going to be a good pickup, and comparing it to the other high-tier Russian aircraft, it seems very similar, at least the playstyle, and I wouldn't be too worried about the ammunition. And the max speed, well, yeah, it's going to be a pain. It's going to be a pain if you're in something like one of the old 8.0s, such as like the C Meteors or the early Meteors, because there's not really a lot you can do against this thing. It's just going to do what an F-84 does to a propeller plane when that used to happen a lot. It's just going to try and head on you when it has the advantage, and then it's just going to disappear for about 5 minutes, and then it's going to come back and do exactly the same thing. That's pretty much what the La-200 is going to do. But anyway, I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time.